about 2.5 hours north of Miami. So I'm a Floridian, and Miami came up there to our small town that Kent got.
Okay, growing up, who were your role models? Who were your people that influenced you to do what you do as far as like playing football?
Well, I've had a lot of my family, a lot of cousins that played Division I football. I had a cousin, Dennis McCann, who played at Florida State, played with the Chicago Bears, Super 85 Bears as well, won the Super Bowl champion. And quite a few people from my neighborhood, Eric Ham, Bubba McDowell, Hurley Brown, they're all from my same neighborhood. They all went to Miami, so that influenced me to follow their footsteps.
Okay, high school, were there other sports that you played other than just football? Was football your main sport?
Actually, baseball was my first love. Most people say I was probably a better baseball player than I was a football player. I probably was, but I tended to want to get my head banged up and like the adrenaline of football a little bit better, so I chose that instead. When I went to Miami, I was still supposed to play both sports, and I tore my knee up my freshman year. So after that, I concentrated strictly on football.
Okay, other than Miami, were there other schools that reached out to you to go to their schools other than Miami? Was Miami the main school?
Miami was in the mix. I mean, I had a lot of different offers. Florida State thought I was too small, but most other schools across the country wanted me to come visit and offer me. As growing up, I probably was a bigger Florida State fan because I said my cousin Dennis McKinnon went there, and that was really my first in-state love was Florida State. But once some of the guys from the neighborhood started going to Miami, I quickly fell in love with the Hurricanes.
Okay, was Jimmy Johnson your main recruiter, or was it somebody else?
Jimmy Johnson was, but Don Solomon was my main recruiter. He came to visit me multiple times. And really how I got noticed really from most schools across the country, I'm a small guy and didn't get a lot of offers at first. Junior year is when you're really supposed to blow up. But I had the number one player in the country, Derrick Brown, on my team who went to Notre Dame. And everyone around the country saw him, and they came to see me. They saw me as well perform in practice, and they said, "Oh, who's this guy?" So they saw me shine, and they knew I was a talent. So.
Okay, so 88 was your first year. That was your first year, 88.
Yep, 1988. I was part of the highlight of '88 was the very first game of my career was against Florida State. Florida State made that infamous rap song that fired us up of taking care of those guys in the Orange Bowl. And also that year we played in the Catholics versus Convicts game. I was part of that game. Went to Notre Dame, had an unfortunate loss there. So that was really the highlight of '88. Played in the Orange Bowl. That's where I tore my knee up at the end of that year, and I had to redshirt the ball.
Okay, so that was the last game against Nebraska. You won 23-3 against Nebraska. That was the last game for Johnson. Were you surprised personally that he decided to go coach the Dallas Cowboys at that time?
Yeah, we were all surprised. We learned pretty fast that college football, like any other business, is big business. Coaches are looking for stepping stones and always looking to advance and quickly learn about the business of football. And we got over pretty quick. Miss Jimmy, but Dennis Erickson came in, gave him a chance, and he did a good job.
Yeah, you won. Yeah, that was the last coaching game, 23-3 over Nebraska. So '89 comes around. You have Dennis Erickson. Talk about him coming in as a coach at that time.
Yeah.
Became the coach at that time.
Yeah, Dennis came in. We had a lot of vets that they tested him at first, but they realized pretty quickly that he was a player's coach. He pretty much let us do our thing. Kept the defense the same. Defense was exactly the same, ferocious, fierce. He changed the offense. We had a different offense, more of a spread type with what we ran back then, one back, and it worked well for us. And we're off to the races after that. So.
Okay, the game I want to talk about in the '89 season obviously was game against Notre Dame. That was a very intense rivalry, obviously. Won 27-10, but talk about your perspective, get ready for that game, winning 27-10 in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't part of that game. I had a red shirt. I tore my ACL in that last Orange Bowl game my freshman year. So I was on the sidelines, but the atmosphere was just tremendous. I was part of that '88 game. Very frustrated from what happened in the '88 game. We thought it got stolen from us with that Cleveland Gary so-called fumble. With the fumble, but that's what they call it. So we had to live with it. But we knew once they came to our house the next year, we knew we had something for them. So it was a very intense game, and we knew we had to remember the game to us.
Okay, so the national championship was won. You have actually your arch rival, Notre Dame, had to beat Colorado, which they did 21-6, and you had to take care of your own business and beat Alabama, which you did 30-25. So talk about being part of the national champion for the first time at University of Miami during that time.
Yeah, that was extremely exciting. Stuff you dream about as a kid, being on a championship team. A lot of hard work, dedication, blood, sweat, and tears went into it. It was an electric night, and we took care of business on the championship.
Yeah, you went 33-25. So now '90s roll around. Talk about that BYU game, because that was a crazy game. The defending champions are on top ranked. Expectations so high to win another championship. And you lose to BYU. What went wrong during that game? Obviously, Todd Dever had a great game in that game.
Yeah. That game, we realized quickly who Ty Detmer was. That's for sure. But I think we underestimated them just a little bit, and especially Ty Detmer, who had an outstanding game that year. But I think it woke us up after that game. We went on the roll and just pretty much destroyed everybody else the whole season. We were projected to go 12-0, run through everyone, and I think it swore our heads up a little bit, but that loss put us back in focus so we could take care of the rest of the season and everybody on the schedule.
Yeah, and also doing that, after you lost to them, you was able to also beat Florida State, beat them 31-22. The thing about that game, there's a lot of great running, a lot of yards was ran. Because Conley, Wire, they combined for a lot of yards, 176 yards for Wire, 144 yards for Conley. One, smash mouth, win 31-22. They obviously not known for throwing the ball in the air, but you show that you can pound the rock against a great Florida State defense. About that, man, 31-22.
Yeah, we realized that our running game was going to be the key. We're just going to take what the defense gave us. Great job of offensive coordinator by our offensive coordinator at the time. And we took what they gave us and realized that we could run it down their throats, keep the ball out of their hands, and control the game. And that's what we did.
Yeah, you ran more than 300 yards. That's the first time at that time since 1987. Okay, so unfortunately, we faced Notre Dame. That was the final time at that time. You two rivals playing each other. Lose that game, unfortunately, 29-20. What went wrong in that game? Because that was for all the margins. Number 2 in the country. And all of a sudden, Notre Dame. Talk about that game.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. It's one of those things that happens. Two great teams. One team had to lose and came up on the short end of the stick. But it was a tough year. We learned a lot from each other that year. I think it propelled us on to the following years while I was in Miami. And we learned how to win. We learned how to be dedicated and work hard and not get complacent. I think that's the biggest thing. We were listening to a lot of news clippings and how great we were and how good we were going to be, our potential. Realized quickly that potential doesn't get you anywhere if you're not willing to put the work in. So we knew we had to go to work, and that helped us in the following years for sure.
Yeah, the thing about that game is that the defense did a great job. They held Notre Dame lots of field goals. Craig Hendrick did kick like 5 field goals. Rocket ran back and kicked over, turned like 90-something yards. So they just tried to turn the ball over like in opportune times, and that's why again you fell short. So I'm gonna fast forward to the Cotton Bowl. That's the infamous Cotton Bowl. That's the game. Mental Hill, Mental Tunnel. But talk about that game. You guys were dealing with a lot of stuff during that week. Trash talk from Stan Thomas, saying some things about you, about your squad. And you win 51. I think it was 43 or something like that.
3-4-3, yeah, something like that. Yeah, that was Texas just pissed us off. We knew they were an inferior team to us, and we didn't think we should be there. We thought that we were the best team in the country, playing the best at that time, and we thought that we deserved to be in a different game other than the Cotton Bowl. But we had to take care of business where we were, and basically Texas was in front of us, and we were just going to smash them. We were there. They just basically pissed us off by talking too much, and we handled business.
Yeah, you won 46 to 3. Yeah, 46 to 3. And that the thing that was amazing about that game is that to this day, man, Texas was number 3 in the country. You guys are number 4, and yeah, a lot of trash talking, a lot of sad, during that week. I think Stan Thomas, I think he said something that was not good, that rubbed you guys the wrong way. But anyway, you won that game. You sacks from Darryl Russell. Russell Maryland had 3 sacks in that game, and Davis had 4 touchdowns, and Wesley Carroll had 8 catches, 135 yards. He got just down. And the thing about that game, they had a lot of penalties, 202 yards in penalties, and 16 penalties, 22 yards. He was able to overcome that. He was so talented at that time. So that included that year. So 91 brings around the Arkansas game. That now you're part of the Big East Conference, so there's something new going on in 91. So about that first game against Arkansas, that's the game James Webb threw a 99-yard touchdown pass to Horace Copeland. He won 31-3. Talk about that game.
Yeah, the 1991 season was a transition year for us. We had a lot of guys that were starting for the first year, including myself, Horace Copeland, Kevin Williams, the Ruthless Posse. That's when we came about during that year. So we knew we had right at the start we had to make a name for ourselves, prove ourselves to everybody. We were pretty much in the background before we would come to the forefront during the 91 season. So that Arkansas was a big game for us to prove ourselves and start off the season.
31-3 was the final score in that game. Also, the game I want to get to is the Thursday night game against Houston.
Yeah.
And I remember that game was on Thursday night. We went 40-10. Just made a statement against that offense from a defensive standpoint. Obviously, the offense you did your thing too. We'll talk about that leading up to that game because Houston was a high-powered offense. They had 2 years earlier. Andre Ware won the Heisman. David Clinton was like a Heisman trophy. Talk about winning that game.
Yeah, David Klingler was the hot name at the time. We knew our defense, no one really could do anything on our defense, so our defense was really out to prove themselves. There were like I said, there were a lot of new guys stepping up for the first time, and it was a big opportunity to prove themselves against a high caliber quarterback like David Klingler. And they were just ferocious that night. It was going to be hard for anybody in the country to score on that night.
Yeah, he was sacked. Cleveland was sacked 5 times. Defensive front definitely made a difference in that game. And that game also was a 39th home winning streak that was increased at home. Hurricanes, they tied the second longest streak at that time, at 39 wins in a row. 4 touchdown passes was thrown by James Webb. All the game I want to talk about is the Penn State game at the Orange Bowl on October 12th, 1991. You win 26-20. Very high, competitive game. Talk about beating Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State was a good team at the time as well. But we knew we were different from everyone else. That was just our mentality. We knew we put the work in. We knew, especially when you come to the Orange Bowl, there's no way coming out there with a W in the Orange Bowl. We already knew that. So because we knew we put the work in, the blood, sweat, tears all week through the summer. We knew it was slap in the face if anybody came out with a W in the Orange Bowl. So that was just our belief and what we believed in at the time, that come to Orange Bowl, you better put on your hard hat. Whoever it is, didn't matter who it was.
Okay, now the game of the year in 91 last year was the 30th anniversary of this wide right and the battle wide right won. They win 17-16, came to this game with 7 games in a row against top-ranked teams. Talk about that preparation aspect, obviously, Florida State Miami speaks for itself, but talk about that buzz during that week leading up to that game. Tallahassee has win 17-16, Jerry Thomas. This is the field goal from 34 yards out, and hold on to win 17-16. Coleman Bell made that great catch on that last drive that James Terrell threw on that last drive, man. Why had a big game, but talk about that buzz leading up to that game and that win over Florida State.
Well, Florida State is always our biggest game of the year since out every year, and it still probably is. That's our biggest rivalry for sure. We know all the players played against in high school, played on all-star teams together against each other. So we know every year Florida State, that's a must-win. So it didn't take a lot of hype or a lot of anything else for us to get up against a team like that. That was our biggest rivalry. So every year I was at Miami, Florida State was our target. We knew that was a game that's a must-win for bragging rights to the state. We knew pretty much the winner of that game would have a chance of going to be a champion in that time. So it was go ahead. Yeah, I mean, so like I said, Florida State, it didn't take much to get us up against a team like that. We already knew it was a state before we even got to Miami. We knew Florida State, that's a must-win.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, is that Horace Copeland made a big catch too. That kind of gets overlooked. Is that fourth down? It's fourth down.
Exactly.
That was for that replay of the game. If you don't make that catch, the game over.
It's over. Game over. Right.
In Florida State, they give credit to Carlos Brunson, man. He was making key field goals in the clutch. Because offensively, you had trouble with that defense. Florida State, both teams played great, but Copeland made a huge catch on that final drive on fourth down and 6, man. That wasn't easy. He made that catch, especially Coleman Bell made that tough catch over the top. That was huge. So to win that game, another thing that's interesting about that season is that go to Boston College, barely beat them 19-14. That was a very close game to talk about that game. That gets kind of overshadowed during that 91 season that you guys had. Talk about that game against Boston College.
Boston College, I mean, I think we kind of overlooked them. And that was another learning lesson. You got to be prepared every game, no matter who the opponent is, because especially if you're winning like we did back then, you always target. Everyone wants to beat you in the biggest game of everyone's season. So I think we kind of went in with a big head a little bit, thinking we just walk on the field, they lay down on us, and find out quickly that wasn't the case. They played us really tough and got out there very, very. It was very tough to get out there with a W, but we ended up doing it.
Yeah. Also, unfortunately, in this game, Steve McGuire.
Yeah. Very, very sad. Steve was one of my good friends in Miami when I was there. Just a great individual, great guy, and it was very unfortunate to see him go down with that injury because he was having a great season and great career, really. And we always felt that he would have gone on to do great things at the next level as well. That kind of hampered him after that injury. He did come back, but he wasn't quite the same as he was before then.
Okay, now fast forward to the Orange Bowl. Nebraska beat them 22-0. Obviously, mission was to win the national championship full time. During that 8-9 year period, talk about get ready for that game and handle your business against Nebraska. It was rare for Nebraska to even get shut out like that, but he was able to do that. I think y'all go back to 1973. Last time Nebraska at that time that got shut out 220 games in a row, 220 games going back, was them getting shut out. Talk about that game winning the national championship, like 22-0 against Nebraska.
Well, we knew it was the end of the season. We put the cherry on top of a great season, and the second reign for most of us that were there. And we knew it really the first time that we were really the main reason. The guys that came in with me were the main reason that we were going to win this ring, not as backups, but as major contributors for the first time that year. So that was just a cherry on top to have a great season, and we knew that was a must-win. We had to get that get by Nebraska to make that happen. So it was just in our way. So we knew it was a must-win for sure.
Yeah, so you won the national championship in 91, 92, a lot of expectations, but a lot of stuff going on with the Hurricane Andrew, man. Talk about getting ready for the season for 92. As you defended your championship, but you had to deal with that adversity of the Hurricane Andrew. Talk about the preparations for the season.
Yeah, that was a really big tragedy in Miami during that senior year. We were all scared. We all went through a hurricane. None of us went through anything like that before our lives. And, we had to experience a lot of different things in that time. Couldn't even go to our facility. Had to go to Vero Beach to practice and be ready for camp. So we had a lot of obstacles to overcome to start the season. But we knew that we're focused to get it done, and we knew we could have a great season if we just kept our head up and kept working.
The first game was against Iowa on the road, hostile environment. They were ranked USA Today for the time. Your squad was number 1. No surprise about that. But Iowa was ranked number 20 in the country to win 24-7. Talk about that win going on the road in Big Ten country winning 24-7.
Yeah, we knew Iowa was an opponent we couldn't overlook. But like I said before, at Miami, we know that if we put the work in, we know how hard we work. We knew no one was gonna outwork us, so we were confident in our preparation, and we knew if we went out there and played our game against anyone, it didn't really matter who it was during that time. If we put the work in, we knew that we'd be victorious if we stayed focused. So.
Okay, other game we're going to talk about during the 92 season is Arizona. That was close game. 87 baseball scorer, and unfortunately, it's like Steve McGuire got hurt, Rusty Medeiros got hurt, and it came down to a field goal for Steve McLaughlin. He missed it from 51 yards. Talk about that game. Was you guys confident against Arizona because they only scored 8 points? Defense did their job, but offensively not effective. Now Arizona had a big time defense though. Teddy Bruschi was on that defense. Had great success with Patriots. Talk about that win, narrowly escaping against Arizona 8-7.
Yeah, I think we're a little surprised by the way Arizona played us. It's probably another time that we went out and just thought that it'd be an easy win for us. And we realized quickly that, like I said before, we're the biggest game for most teams, and everyone was going to play us hard and give us their best effort. We found out that quickly against Arizona. They gave us all that we could handle. That's for sure. In some games you win ugly. But a win is a win. Usually champions find a way to win somehow. That's what we did. So got by.
And then another close one, obviously, against Florida State in 1916. Y'all took a bad start to Matt Van over. Ran for a 94-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. But the thing about that game is that two things is that Coleman Bell scored a touchdown, and Mark Thomas made that catch. Put the squad up 17-16. Then it came down to a field goal, and Murray missed it from 39 yards. Talk about that win. That's wide right 2 comes to play. Talk about that win.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about it all the time. I was a part of wide right 1 and 2. That was the second one. And we know with Florida State, like I said before, a lot of guys we know played against high school and growing up, and we know it would always be a tough game against our biggest rivalry. So we never expected it to be easy against a team like that. And we knew from previous years it's always going to be a dogfight every single year. So we knew we'd have to play 4 quarters, every minute of the quarter. And we knew if we did that, we thought we'd come out victorious, which we found a way to do that again.
Okay, then you had another great battle going to that state. Now we had to play them. And you still there, Darryl? Darryl. You have some difficulties. He's doing a great interview right now, but you can see Darryl on his end. Hopefully he can come back. He's having a great interview right now in the 92 season. About to talk about the state matchup. Darryl, you still there? State and Washington didn't play this game. You had a knee sprain. 17. That's your final regular season game as a player. Talk about going out in style. 63-17 regular season.
Yeah, it was it was the end of the season. We had to just continue winning. We knew what path we were on and what the ultimate goal was. That was to be a national national championship again, win 2 years in a row. So we knew it was a yet another obstacle in our way, and we had to accomplish it. So, and it was last game of the season, and we knew we had to get a victory.
Okay, now let's fast forward to the game against Alabama. Unfortunately, this was 30 years ago. Guys played each other, trying to go for the 5th championship in 10 years. Unfortunately, you lose the game. You had lost like 3 years. You had a 29-game winning streak. And what went wrong because obviously this defense led by John Copeland, John Copeland, Eric Curry, Antonio Langdon, and George T. He definitely had his footprint and put on this game, take the ball away from Hamilton, running in for a touchdown interception. But going into this game, you guys are really ready for this game to take them for granted. Again, I don't disrespect to Alabama, but you guys should have won this game, but obviously. But what went wrong in this game is you lost 34-13, failed to win back-to-back pictures.
I think we were already celebrating before we got the victory. Not to say that Alabama came out of nowhere, but we thought that we knew we were the best team in the country. We knew if we went out there and played that we could win, but I think we lost focus. Definitely didn't respect our opponent like we should have. And after the season, when a lot of us went to the NFL Combine, after we found out that Alabama had just as much or more talent than we had on the team. We had like 12 or 13 guys at the Combine. I think they had like 15. So the talent level was pretty much equal. And I think we underestimated how much talent those guys had, and they really came back to play. They were focused.
Yeah, 34-13 was the unfortunate loss for Youngster Squad, unfortunately. Terrell won the Heisman that year, but he had they played very well. Interceptions and George T. And that's what I think about that game. He was all over the place. Interceptions. I think he played on special teams. Took the ball away from more times. He's going to be like all the way for an 8-9-yard touchdown. He comes from behind him and stripped the ball away. So it's like crazy. The only touchdown that was scored was Kevin Williams. He ran for a 78-yard return for a touchdown. And 78 yards. That was only no touchdown that was scored. But that ended your career. Before I get to your pro career, Ruthless Posse, that moniker with yourself, Kevin Williams, Morris Copeland, Warren Thomas, came up with that moniker, Ruthless Posse.
I believe Lamar did. Lamar was our leader. He was the leader of our group. The biggest, most flamboyant guy for sure. Lamar's a character, still is to this day. But I believe Lamar came up with it. I don't remember exactly how he came up with it, but I think he did. But I think it fit us well. And we took pride in it every week, and we wanted to make sure that we were part of the reason we won every week as well. Whether it be catching the ball, blocking, or running game, which we had to do some games. Some games we really didn't catch a lot of balls, but we focused mainly on the run. But we want to make sure that we put our footprint in every game, and we're one of the reasons that we won, and not the reason that we lost. So we took pride in doing our jobs and being a group, and being unselfish. Because like I said, all of us were talented. Could have been anywhere and been the number one receiver. Lamar was really the number one receiver, but me, Kevin, Morris, we all could be number one receivers elsewhere. But we were unselfish and knew that together we could accomplish a lot of things.
Okay, in pro career, you played with the Atlanta Falcons for 3 years. Talk about your experience in the NFL playing for the Falcons.
Oh, it was a dream come true. Never in my wildest dreams did I think. I thought about playing. I played in high school. I thought maybe I could get a chance to play in college one day. But never in my wildest dreams. I think I dreamed about being an NFL player, but never really think it's gonna be reality. Dream about it, but reality is another thing. So not until I got to Miami and I saw other guys go pro, and I saw what it took to go pro, and I said to myself, well, if this guy's going pro, I think I might have a shot to go pro. So that started putting something in my mind that if I worked hard enough, I would have an opportunity. Atlanta gave me an opportunity to play. So it was a great experience. One of the best experiences of my life. Just realizing that dream, being able to be a part of National Football League.
Okay, let's fast forward to the Hurricanes of today. A lot of buzz going on in Big Gables. The former teammate, Mario Cristobal, he's a new head coach. And talk about your assessment of, obviously nothing's won on paper. There's a lot of buzz with the coaching staff, Charlie Strong, guys like that. on the squad. They're looking really good. No Tyler Van Dyke and Ryan Hyde. Talk about your former teammate, Mario Cristobal, being the coach for the Hurricanes. Did a lot of great things at Oregon. What do you think of what this Hurricane program can be? Can it be like the teams of old that you were on? Can they do that at this moment in time?
I absolutely believe so. Mario came in with me in '88, and he's part of all those great squads, all the blood, sweat, and tears. Cut him open like the rest of us, and he bleeds orange and green. He's dedicated, he's focused, and the main thing, he knows what it takes to build a culture. Nothing happens overnight, but Mario truly knows what hard work, dedication can get for him. So we all as former players know that Mario is one of the guys that will bring us back to what we need to be because he knows what it takes firsthand. So we're very confident and excited about Mario being a head coach. Sure.
All right, man. Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on, Darryl Spencer. It's been a great interview. It was a great interview. Thanks for coming on the show. Thank you.
Rashad, I appreciate it, man. Anytime, brother.
Thank you. All right, that's Darryl Spencer.